light, I'ma lit it up. Ready for the fight, never give it up. If I ever fall, then I pick it up. This is my life, so I live it up. And I trust God, so I big him up. Try to block me, but ain't slick enough. Try to be them, had to give it up. Now I do me, cause I'm sick enough. This little light, I'ma lit it up. Ready for the fight, never give it up. If I ever fall, then I pick it up. This is my life, so I live it up. And I trust God, so I big him up. Try to block me, but ain't slick enough. Try to be them, had to give it up. Now I do me, cause I'm sick enough.
Joining me now, the man you saw in that video, Zuby, rapper, author, international speaker, and a coach and host now of an outstanding podcast I would recommend, Real Talk with Zuby. All right, Zuby, first of all, did you actually skydive? Be honest with everybody here, and if you did, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I did it for real. That was not a stunt, man. That's myself jumping out the plane in that music video. So yeah, I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I thought it would be fun. I'm willing to suffer and do crazy things for the sake of my art. I've done a lot of crazy things for music videos that people may not really be aware of. But yeah, that was probably the craziest, jumping out a plane twice and actually rapping whilst doing so. It was quite an effort.
Yeah, one of the country music stars I know down here in Texas often does crazy things, and he tells me all the time, for the sake of the song. I do it for the sake of the song. Zuby, you were dynamite during COVID, mainly because you were actually giving out real health advice about taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, working out. Why does that advice come from you, a rapper, obviously, and not a coach, and I know you're a lot more than that, but not the CDC? Why do I have to go to Zuby to get information and advice that I should be getting from my doctor, from my CDC, from my Surgeon General, from the American media? But I couldn't. I had to go watch rap videos for health advice. Explain to me why.
Because I don't have any perverse incentive. I don't have an agenda. I genuinely care about human beings. I care a lot about health and fitness and nutrition and exercise. I've been talking about it since way before it was cool. I myself have been on my fitness journey for over 20 years at this point. I've been training regularly for 20 years, and I've learned a lot during the time. And I genuinely love helping people. And I also just, you know, one of the things with that whole idea, and I don't want to even get so political with it at all, but there's not, how would I put it? There's not a lot of incentive for people to be honest with such matters and such issues, right? There's not a lot of money in telling people to take vitamin D. There's not a lot of money in telling people to exercise and go to the gym and manage their body weight, let alone to fast or anything like that. So with the powers that be, whether they are politicians or they're in big pharma or they're in the food industry or anything like that, even some of the medical doctors and people involved in the healthcare world, unfortunately, there are so many perverse incentives that are out there. So oftentimes, if you want to get something that's just unbiased and no one is being sort of enumerated or compensated for pushing certain ideas and ideologies or even products, then, you know, sometimes you're going to have to just go to your local gym bro or go to that dude on Twitter who's just trying to inform people. And I think that's the reality of it. I look at a lot of things through the lens of incentives. And I think if you can understand incentives and disincentives, then it explains a lot of the behavior that you see out there.
One of the things that's difficult for a lot of people who haven't been on some 20-year fitness journey, right now they're sitting here, they're watching, they're fat, their knees hurt, their hips hurt, they don't sleep well. They know they want to make some changes, and that's how it starts. But they don't know where to begin, Zuby. Right now, there are people watching us right now who are 300 pounds and they're out of shape and they've never had a fitness coach or motivation, and they don't know where to start. They're not going to look like you tomorrow, so it all seems really quite hopeless. How does that person begin? Where does that person begin?
Yeah, so the most important part, I would say, actually, is to begin. I think the truth is that deep down, most people generally, even if you haven't researched nutrition a lot or you haven't learned a lot about exercise and physiology, most people have a pretty strong inkling of, most people know that an apple is healthier than, Cheetos. People know that eating a giant, large Domino's pizza full of cheese and calories is not as good as eating a plate of chicken and rice or whatever it is. And everyone knows that moving is better than not moving. So my first thing would be to get in motion. Inertia is very powerful in both directions. If you are not moving and you're not exercising and you're just being very sedentary, it's easy to keep that going. It becomes habitual. But once you get moving, this can be going for start with a 20-minute walk every day, increase it to a 30-minute walk and a 1-hour walk. Doing something is always better than doing nothing. And then in terms of actually getting hold of the information, of course, I could pitch my book, Strong Advice, Zuby's Guide to Fitness for Everybody. That's helped thousands of people all across the world. I wrote it to be very simple and concise and easy and quick to read and to go back to and reference. And whether you're trying to build muscle or you're trying to lose weight, burn fat, whatever your goal is, that book has helped a ton of people out. I wrote it specifically to help answer that question for a lot of people without making stuff overtly complicated. But like I said, yeah, I think the first thing is to get in motion. Doing something positive is always going to be better than doing nothing. And once you start to build those positive habits, then you can learn and build and increase as you go. It's okay to not have all the information to begin with. Nobody starts out in incredible shape. Like it's something you have to work for, especially as you get older and you're living a busy life. So recognize that, people, just like in many things in life, you start from, your starting position's your starting position. You can't magically change that. But if you give it some time and some effort, then you can completely reverse a lot of these situations down to obesity and diabetes, which a lot of people think is irreversible, but it's absolutely reversible.
Yeah. I used to tell people 90% of me working out is putting on my gym shoes. Because once my gym shoes are on, I'm going to work out anyway. I'm already heading that direction. I'm already going. I'm not going to take them back off and not work out. Just get the daggone shoes on. All right. Zuby, COVID, I get the feeling now that we as a whole, as a nation, and frankly the Western world, and we look back on it, that there's a bit of shame, and there should be, and how frightened we became as a population and how many of us conducted ourselves. Now, not enough people are ashamed, and the worst people aren't ashamed at all, but many people look back and they think, man, that sucked. I wished I hadn't done that. I wished I hadn't ostracized my brother. I wish I hadn't put a mask on my 10-year-old. I wish I hadn't. But we were ripe for a big scare then. We were a soft population ripe for a big scare. That hasn't changed. We're ripe for another one, aren't we?
Yeah, that's always the case. That's always the case. I mean, the course of the human condition, it alters, but there are certain consistencies and patterns. And one of those things is that there are always things both legitimate and illegitimate and manufactured that people are going to be scared of, right? There are things that are completely reasonable to be scared of. And in fact, if you were not scared of them, you probably wouldn't live very long. But then there's also forces that are out there in the media or within politicians or within certain activist groups and whatever, who are trying to manufacture or even exaggerate certain forms of fear and outrage, because the easier you are to scare, and I would say the easier you are to offend and the easier you are to outrage, the easier you are to control. And if you want to become a sovereign individual and you want to become a powerful and individual with discipline and self-control, you have to be able to resist some of that, because once you're moving from a position of fear, then you're no longer thinking clearly.
Okay, so how do I begin that, Zuby? If I'm one of these types, and look, yep. We forget that there are a lot of men out there. Well, I'll speak to men specifically. There are a lot of 30, 40-year-old men out there. They didn't have a dad, or if they did, they had a crappy one, or one of these limp-wristed losers who never taught them about resilience or pushing through or any skills or self-confidence. So they don't know. They want it. They want to look like Zuby. They want to begin this, but they don't know where to begin. How does that guy begin? He's not 10. He's 40.
Yes. Get yourself in the weight room. And I'm not even being facetious at all. Right? Start with your own body. Start with your own body, your own mind, your own spirit, your own heart, and work on self-improvement. Take radical accountability, right? No one can work out for you. No one can force you to eat anything. You're totally in control of that. And I think that if you can get your body in check, your mind, your body, and your spirit, these things are all connected. Mental health, physical health, spiritual health, these things are all connected. They're not siloed off. It's important to get yourself in much better shape, and that does not have a positive impact on your mental state. So I think that's a fantastic place to begin. I think people look at it there's only something about aesthetics or health or vanity or something like that. And it goes so far beyond that. It has massive cognitive benefits. So I'd say that's a great place to start. And then also work on self-improvement in any other areas, whatever areas it is that you feel that you are deficient in as a man. That could be your finances, it could be your relationships, it could be how you conduct yourself, it could be how you look and how you dress. Take steps to improve that. And it's okay. It's correct for these things to be very incremental. No one is expecting overnight changes. But if you genuinely want to improve yourself, or there's something that you want to learn, or there's something that you want to get better at, then you can do it. And it's a matter of just putting in that effort day in, day out. It's what I do in my own life. It's what I encourage other people to do. I recognize that I'm not perfect. I've still got a long way to go. Hopefully, I've got many, many decades more to live and many more things that I hope to achieve and accomplish. And it's just taking it a day at a time and doing your best and genuinely putting in the effort.
Yeah. Stick around, brother. Appreciate you. Come back soon.